Hello, welcome to a late night mix breakdown, I guess you could call it, of a Artax track that I've been working on. I'll play the intro. Let's get started. So, there's a lot going on there. So I'll quickly run through each track. We got the bass. Then we got the keys. Then we've got the guitar, double tracked left hard pan with a really heavy gate on it. Then we got some effects like some explosions and whooshes. Then we've got the drums. No, I did. Sadly, I don't have a live room with a drum kit, so because I'm in a flat, so I have to use my electric kit to find grooves, and then I kind of tab them out in the software. Software I'm using is a Contact library called GGD Modern Massive. I think it was the Periphery dudes who sort of put it together, and always add ghost notes, add some sort of human element to it, knock the volumes around on certain hits, just to give it a sort of human feel, because I mean, if you're going to program drums, at least give a little bit of a human feel to it. It's the best you can do. Then we've got sort of a bluesy guitar lick. On the second part of the intro, there's trap hi-hats. I don't know why. I thought they sounded pretty cool, so I kind of kept them in. Kind of put them in for just to see how it sounded, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll leave that in. Another cool trick that I like to do is take like a vocal sample and pitch it and add some reverb, and it sort of has this sort of spacey kind of chipmunk in space vibe. And I just took some of Katie's vocals and cut bits out, pitched them up, and then added loads of reverb. We've also got kind of arpeggiated. Kind of with a really, each note's being panned left and right. So with the bass, that center, low end, then these synths are, there's a lot of chorus and stereo shaping going on there to widen it. So the bass is straight down the center, and then you're widening the synthesizers using your chorus and stereo shaping, and then the guitars are just hard panned left and right, and they fill the mid sort of upper mids, maybe mids, and a bit low mids as well. So if you combine all that, everything has its own sort of space in the mix, and everything has its own sort of EQ. So it works well. As best as I can mix on what I've got, it gives everything its own space in the mix. It doesn't get too cluttered. So I think we move on to the verse.
This is my last request. Release me from this mess.
So yeah, we've got your arpeggiated synthesizer. We've got your pad, and then your synth bass. And if you're struggling to make a synthwave style bass, I think just take trance bass and mess around with it. Add some chorus. If you're going to add chorus, I'd highly recommend using Towel Chorus. It's free, and it's instant 80s in a box basically. So slap that on. Some delay EQ. Mess around with your cutoff. Don't just use the preset as it is. Give it, make it stand out. Change it a little bit. And obviously, that's in your low mids. That's in your, your bass. everything. Even though I've only got KRK's rockets. I think it's still good to try and give everything some space in the mix. It's cool to just clutter everything and layer it, and it sounds epic and overproduced. But you can't make it individual instruments, and that's a mistake that I used to always make. Is I just used to cram everything on and go, wow, it sounds really loud, but you had no idea what was going on, because everything would be fighting for space in the mix. So later on, as the verse builds, I bring in a Serum preset. That's a really, really, really powerful attack going, and a really cool reverb tail. And I was like, I really like that reverb tail. So I sort of added it to my guitar in the Axe effects. I kind of copied the parameters. So all together.
We will wake up when it's light. Days will end, but they will bring a flame to burn this mighty game.
Now with Katie's vocal production, that'll be a whole other video. I actually usually bounce that out into Reaper or Cubase or kind of a more less of a sequencer, and that gives me more freedom to move things around in terms of the waveforms and stuff like that. It felt still really good. You can still do it here. I kind of like mixing things up a bit when it comes to the recording the vocals. So we come to the end of the first verse and we hit back into the chorus, which is pretty much the intro, but with vocals. And I can't remember if I do it. Is it halftime? No, it's halftime comes later. Some really cool stuff going on there with some vocal fry.
Reborn again, catapult me out of this nightmare.
Super cool. Anyway, verse 2. Very similar, actually.
And I am not one of them. I will regenerate, become born again.
Bring in those little kind of voices again. I wonder what reverbs. Okay, so I think the autotune's doing the pitching, and then the reverb. There's a bit of EQ going on there as well. There's a reverb. There we go. So, got some funky bass lines. Same with the synths. Same with the drums. Then a bit of brass. really, really synthetic sounding brass. So it goes straight into the guitar solo straight from the chorus with a sort of, is it 4-beat break, but got a sub bass drop there, and then the guitar solo's down here. It's gonna be absolutely drenched in effects. Delay, loads of delay, pretty heavy EQ, and then obviously the secret sauce, the Tal chorus, Alex, which is free. I keep telling people it's free, and it's just a really simple download. Just download, unpack the zip. Oof, it's 80s in a box. But So in the guitar solo, there's so we just got claps here. I think is it the it's the Lexicon Vintage Plate. I think that's it's really good for that Phil Collinsy sort of gated reverb sound. So we just got that two different claps layered. I can't remember. They actually might be me clapping into the mic. Sometimes that works really well. If you kind of clap looser to the beat, it can kind of create a cool groove. Rise, rediscover, regenerate. So that's just layer of vocals, Mutt Lange technique, but in sort of a crude amateur sort of way. Rise, rediscover, regenerate. So you've got your pantard left and right, you've got your harmony parts, and then you've got your lead straight down the centre, then you've got your lows, and there's a whisper track as well to add some breathiness to it. It kind of pulls back into the chorus. So, yeah. So again, big effects and explosions, big overproduction. We've got the weak sort of voices coming in there. Trap hi-hats doing their thing. Always throw these in. These are cool. You know, don't just. I mean, I obviously probably. I could probably do a few more in there to kind of make it a bit more interesting. As I said, this is still, it's 90% there. So, sort of a pseudo polyrhythm going on there. So the gate on that was not very good. So I've actually gone in there and cut the bits out to get that really harsh attack. Bit of popping going on, which is annoying, but hey. So it's not. I mean, it's quite cool. It's quite a cool rhythm. It's not a full polyrhythm, but. So if you put the snare on top of that, then it starts to make a bit more sense. Basically two rhythms running at once. So the guitars are completely matched with the bass, obviously. But we've also got the axe effects doing the sort of weird, ethereal, floaty stuff. So I think that's actually a Tesseract clean preset that I sort of messed around with. And then we've got cinematic synthesizers, and it sort of gets creepy. And that's really cool if you've got that over like a The drums again. That is, I think that's a pattern pack that I have. I don't think this is one of. I don't think I played this one. I think this is a pattern pack because it's way more complex than some of the ones I've done. Yeah, that's. I think a drummer wrote that, as opposed to me. Cool stuff in the China going on there. Cool groove. And he's keeping things going on the ghosting on the snare, which I like. That's really cool. It makes it feel more human, as much as you can make human when you're sequencing like this. In terms of plugins, Serum, Nexus, Silence, all the usuals. In terms of mastering, Maximus. Yeah, there's quite a lot of saturation going on. There's not a lot of space in this song. There's other tracks in the album I've used a little bit more dynamics. There's not a lot of dynamics going on here. I mean, this is probably your... That's probably as quiet as you're getting. So there's not too much dynamics, but this is supposed to be sort of a big production song. So, and you can copy my settings, or I don't know. I kind of just, I don't use my eyes, I use my ears. So attack, the most important thing is your pre-post, your attack. You can use the bands and just slide them up and down. That's pretty cool. That's a cool way to do it. You can, or just copy the bands that I've got here and this. So you can just pause on each channel and copy them to get that big overproduction sound. But the important thing is to obviously mix the track. Don't mix the track with that on. You don't want to mix for the sort of mastering plugins. You don't want to mix with that in mind. You want to get the mix sounding as best as you can organically without any of the mastering master track plugins. I mean, that's just the way I work. I like to work. I kind of don't add EQ because then I'm constantly compensating for my master mix. I think it's best to get it as close as you can in your mixer, and then get to your VSTs in your master track, such as Maximus, which is a multi-band compressor, and a bit of EQ. I think there was a lot of highs going on that I just couldn't. I think with the cymbals and stuff like that, I was struggling to get rid of, so I've just taken a notch off there. A little bit of the muddiness in the bass. Sometimes I mean with vocals and stuff like that, when I used to do vocals, I used to always take a notch out of the 1K because of my nasally voice. But with Katie's voice, it's fine. She's not as nasally as I am, so that's how I work. The sort of male nasally vocals, that's where to take the notch, boof, sort of right there. So limiter is another important thing, and here's it in action. Quiet part of the song, it doesn't really do much there. So it's barely doing anything. The ceiling is just notching down those really, really, really hard hit snares, and it makes such a difference if you just use your limiter subtly to don't saturate it. Don't like a lot of people would just do this and then whack the gain up. Yeah, it's better to let the mix breathe. But anyway, that's sort of the secrets, and that's not really secrets, to be honest. Oh, here's another sort of thing that I like to do with intros. Just take the reverb tail of the end of the track. I don't think it's that part. Is it further back? Anyway, you take that part and you take the tail, for example, the end of the song, you get that nice long reverb tail. Record that. Actually, I'll just show you how I do it. So you go into here, you go into Edison, and you just hit record and then play your track. Cool. So we then just take that out. Double click, reverse. You've now got a really cool reverse sort of sweep intro for your song. So, you know, I could test that out at the top of this track, see if it's any better than the one I made earlier. You have to be careful how you place it, so you don't really want the kick drum to be part of it. Yeah, it works. I've probably got the terrible limiter settings still on there. But anyway, that's sort of how I'm doing things. And if you like this and you want more, or if you want me to go over other things or recommend stuff, you know, leave a comment or leave me a message, and I can see if I can do that. But if not, I'll just be continuing with Artax mix breakdowns. Probably heading towards the more synthwave stuff next time. And then we can do a full session on vocal processing, because I think that's something that's taken me the longest. It's definitely taken me the longest to get. I mean, I'm still not happy with where I am. I still think there's like with the high ends and de-essing, there's still things that I'm trying to learn. But I definitely use a lot less processing than I used to. I still quite like a hard CLA compressor style thing on the vocal, which is what I use as a plugin. It's a really good Wave CLA compressor. It's two knobs, gain and peak reduction. So your peak, it's kind of like you use your gain to knock up the volume of your voice, and your peak reduction basically will stop the preamp peaking all over the place and wrecking your signal. So it's quite a cool. It's right. You got to be really subtle with it because it's quite powerful. And the Tal chorus, recommend that. And Sylenth 2 is for synthwave is totally. I know a lot of people like Serum and stuff like that, but Sylenth, I feel that Serum is like the next generation of Sylenth, because it's so intense sounding and powerful. Sylenth, I remember when it came out, it was sort of like the same thing. It was super, whoa, you know, the presets everyone was sharing around and stuff like that. This is what you could get out of it. It was pretty cool. What people were doing and the presets that they were sharing were really cool. And in terms of DAWs and stuff like that, yeah, I use FL Studio because it works, and it means I can get down my ideas really quickly. I find your Cubase key roll and stuff like that, it's a little bit more. You got to put a bit more time in it. It was this, I can just bash ideas out really quickly. So I've ended up just writing the whole song in it. That's kind of the way it worked. It wasn't intentional. I know it gets a bad rap sometimes because of its past and sort of, you know, bedroom EDM, but you know, that's where I started too. That's where everybody starts, you know, making beats in your bedroom. Anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know if you want me to do more of these. Cheers, bye.